If you're new to all this and just dipping your toe into the water, if maybe you've seen these hashtags, the storm is coming, or follow the white rabbit, and you're very confused because you don't know what any of these memes mean and you don't know where everything is pointing, the journey is the destination. The more truth you know, the better prepared you will be. Some of the truths are very deep, very dark, and we will get there. But for today, what I think I want to get across that's most important is that you have been subject to something called Project Mockingbird for as long as you've been alive. Unless you're 70 or 80 or 90 years old, that is. But the rest of us. And what does it do? It's like putting you inside of a movie. What do I mean? I mean that almost everything that comes from almost every organization that you've counted on to bring you information is controlled by the central governments, powerful NGOs, and intelligence agencies. And as borders are fading away in this globalist world, the writers working on the narrative of your life, well, they come from all over, and they have all manner of goals and angles that they're trying to get you to buy into. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is proven fact, and it's been proven a long time. I know what you might be thinking. If this is so important, if this was so dire, why haven't I heard about it before? Well, what did I just tell you? You won't hear about it because the people who are going to tell you about it are bought and paid for, some of whom, many of whom, are actually intelligence assets. If this is completely new information to you, I imagine you want some proof. Well, here you go.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI?
Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
Well, it made almost no headlines, and yet a major piece of legislation was quietly signed into law a little over a week ago. President Obama quietly signed into law the 2017 National Defense Authorization Act. So often there are additional laws and spending bills tucked into the NDAA, and this year was no exception. This time, it was something called the Countering Foreign Propaganda and Disinformation Act of 2016. That bipartisan bill will establish an interagency center housed at the State Department to coordinate and synchronize counter-propaganda efforts throughout the U.S. government. The bill also creates a grant program for NGOs, for think tanks, civil society, and other experts outside government who are, quote, engaged in counter-propaganda related work. Now, let's be clear. This is being sold as countering propaganda, but how do you do that? After all, if government agencies put out information to the public for the sake of altering a point of view, isn't that the very definition of propaganda? So this law essentially funds U.S. propaganda, but isn't that illegal? It was, but no, not anymore, because 3 years ago, wrapped inside the 2013 NDAA, was an amendment that removed the ban on the U.S. government creating propaganda and then showing it to U.S. citizens. But there's a reason it was illegal for over 60 years for our government to propagandize the public, to protect the public from our own government.
There's lots more out there, and I could probably do a 3-hour video for you proving it by showing you stories where the CIA or other agencies have been caught red-handed lying. There's some really good video about it out there. In fact, that's the point of this exercise. That's what hashtag follow the white rabbit is. You can't be told. It's no good for anyone out here to tell you this stuff. You have to go and look. With improving technology, it's gotten a lot easier for them to do this. And at this point, they're manipulating Google results. So even if you go and look now at the stuff I'm trying to tell you, you're going to be inundated with results that debunk this theory. But I've just shown you the Senate testimony from the CIA. You have to dig deeper. You have to look in those places that the mainstream media, the Mockingbird media, has told you not to look. You can't be such suckers. You can't fall for this line that any newspaper covering a different version of the story is secretly racist and sexist and, quote, alt-right. Don't fall for it. Are you really that easily led? Are you really that gullible? Open your eyes. They've been doing it a long time, like I said. And here in the background as I've been talking, this is a CNN story from the first Gulf War, I believe it was. Look how terrible it is. This looks like a Saturday Night Live sketch, doesn't it? Feast your eyes. I'll let it play for a bit.
CD, if you need to take cover, I notice that you've got your gas mask in your hands. If you need to put it on, please do so. If you need to take cover, please do so. If you are able...
All right, we are now led to understand that there are also firings in another city in Saudi Arabia. CNN's Carl Rochelle is here with me. He just came up. Carl, I know we can't be very specific given these restrictions, but within those parameters, what did you see?
Well, what I saw, I didn't see anything hit. I looked almost straight above us. There is a vapor trail coming from my right to my left, and there's a cloud of something. It looks like it might have been an explosion, a cloud. I'd say...
Oh my God, how corny does that look? And look at it. This was run on television. This is the level of fakeness that we believed. So think of the level of fakeness they're capable of today. 20-something years on, they're tricking you. And this is not the only example. It's just the example I picked because I think it's particularly funny. Just go and look. That's all Follow the White Rabbit is. It's trying to get through to people who refuse to believe this stuff, who are too scared and disturbed to believe this stuff. But you have to let yourself, because history is in the making right now. This is a very significant period of history. What I'm going to get into in my subsequent videos, it gets darker and darker. You have to prepare yourself mentally. In case you're wondering, there are plenty of reporters with spine and backbone and integrity. Cheryl Atkinson is one of them. You should look her up. She's written a book about it. Have you heard the term astroturfing with regards to fake grassroots organizations that come along and protest things? Well, she'll teach you about that. Michael Hastings. Michael Hastings was a journalist for Rolling Stone that was investigating the Afghan war, and he obviously found something very dangerous to the establishment. He's dead. Look into him. But you can't Google it anymore. Google is 100% compromised. A case in point, have a look at what comes up for a Google image search for straight men. Let's try some other ones. White couple. There should be literally millions of white couples to choose from. Let's see. How strange is this? I see a lot of non-white people in this. Okay, American inventors. Really? Especially this. Do you know who this is? This is Clock Boy. Ahmed Mohammed. Is he really worth a higher place than Thomas Edison? If you Google any of these controversial subjects right now, you're going to find Snopes on the first page. Snopes. This is a website run by a woman and her husband who basically beg for money and think of their cat as their child. Even if you don't find Snopes, you're not going to find the meat. You're not going to find the story covered from the other angle. You're going to find the mainstream point of view. And yeah, this ties into the storm. This ties into the raids in Saudi Arabia. Because when you find out who owns these companies, who owns these media companies, you'll see that it's only a handful of people one of whom was Prince Al-Walid from Saudi Arabia. Another one is Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon. And of course, we have the Google complex, and we have George Soros, who funds literally thousands of organizations who get members on the boards of all of these different media outlets. You have to watch from every angle. Yes, they make wholly faked stories sometimes, but most of the time and every day, what they do is more insidious and more subtle. They'll trumpet a false story all over the news, and everyone will be talking about it. And then 2 days, 3 days later, they'll print a retraction, which nobody ever sees. The example I'm going to use is pretty frivolous, but it's very recent and very illustrative of my point. I'm sure you remember how crazy the media went when they got footage of Donald Trump dumping a box of fish food into the koi pond. Oh, he was going to kill all the fish. Oh, how rude. What really happened there was the Prime Minister of Japan went first and dumped his whole box of fish food into the pond. So Donald Trump, doing what a good guest does, is he took the lead of his host, and he did the same thing. Now, CNN's photographers caught that, but they didn't bother to show it. It's more important for the media to make a fool of him, because that's the narrative. In the story of your life, you live in a country with a president who is a buffoon, who is graceless, who is incompetent, who can't control himself, who is childlike. That's the story. And you're in it. This movie doesn't just affect Donald Trump. It affects you in a very profound way. The media thinks you're an idiot. If they're going to lie to you about something so simple and so easily disproven, it indicates one of two things. It indicates the level of their desperation to maintain the lie, or it indicates that they know they've got you right where they want you. Don't be fooled. The things they lie about are not always so harmless as a box of fish food and a koi pond. They're lying to you about the number of refugees coming in. They're lying to you about how the refugees are getting here. They're lying to you about why the refugees are getting here. They're lying to you about Sweden. Remember Sweden? Well, there's been 16 bombs in 27 days, and that was last I checked a couple of days ago. That's not on the mainstream media. To get a flavor for what Google returns when I search for bombings in Sweden, pause the video here and look. This is not covering the bombings. This is not telling you what you need to know. Let's say you're a resident of Canada, the United States, and you think, gee, I wonder if there's any risk in letting in all these refugees to our countries. Let me go check how Sweden's doing. Well, you're not going to find the truth, and that's criminal. You need the information in order to make the votes, in order to build the country that you want to live in, that you deserve to live in, that your forefathers fought and worked and died and bled and sweat for. Why? Why would they lie? I'm sure you're asking yourself, why would they lie? And how would they get all of these people in all of these organizations to fall in line? Well, I'll get into that in other videos. Suffice to say right now that there is nothing that isn't a product now, including our attitudes. You know they've always been after our dollars. Well, now they're after our data. Now they're after our minds. Now they're after our loyalty and the way we think about things. It's a quest for control, as it always has been. It's just that technology is allowing them to reach into areas they never could reach into before. And globalism is allowing people whose ideas are very different from those in the West to have influence over us here in our homes. So if it's significant to you in your life, if you have to spend money on it, if you have to follow a rule about it, you can bet that the news, the government, the education system, and the entertainment industry are all on board. They're all taking someone's money to lie to you about it. You only need to look beneath the Mockingbird media to find the truth. The evidence is there. It's just that they know they have you so hypnotized. They jump on you, they pounce on you if you look outside of the echo chamber. Follow the white rabbit. Because people, the storm is coming and you are not ready. Get ready, or else you'll be fighting for the wrong side. Stuff that's going to be revealed is very, very dark. So I'm trying to give you the spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down. I'm trying to give it to you in little bits. And this is the key. This is the key. Understand that Project Mockingbird is real. It has been going on for decades. Understand that. And you can understand when people say outrageous sounding things to you. You'll say to yourself, maybe I should look into that. Instead of thinking to yourself, no, it can't be true. The media would have told me. The news would have told us if this was important. The news wouldn't lie to us. The news wouldn't lead us down a path to total destruction. Well, my friends, and everyone that isn't part of this game is my friend. Open your eyes and buckle your seatbelts. This is a painful process, and once you see something, you can't unsee it. Know that, but know that after the pain of that comes this great relief that you are finally living in a world that makes sense. You're not going to be alone. You are not going to be alone. You may lose people close to you because they're not ready. In the end, it doesn't matter. You are fighting for the very survival of this way of life. It's better to know the truth, and then you can go forward confidently. Allow yourself to look behind the curtain. Follow the white rabbit. And thanks for listening. Peace out.